Hello and welcome to the Radio 1 interview podcast, home of the biggest music interview every week from Radio 1. I'm Clara Amfo and I am delighted to introduce this week's featured artist on the podcast, Sir Paul McCartney. Sir Paul McCartney doesn't really need an introduction, but I'll do a little one anyway. 1/4 of the Beatles and easily one of the most prolific songwriters, music creators of our generation. Recent Glastonbury headliner, and he joined us to celebrate the release of Now and Then, which is the final ever song to be released by the Beatles. In this conversation, we talk a bit about John's memory, why AI isn't so evil, and what he wants new Beatles fans to take away from this song.
The Radio 1 interview podcast.
Well, dear listener, on the Never Thought I'd Say bingo card of 2023 is this. Please welcome to the show, Sir Paul McCartney on Radio 1's Future Sounds. Hello.
Hi there, Clara.
Sir Paul, Macca, I'm going to go in with the over-familiarity. Where in the world are you right now?
Actually in Sydney, Australia.
Talk to me about life in Australia, like life back on the road, because it just seems like you never want to stop performing, which is fantastic. So tell me about the Australian fans and what the experience has been like for you so far.
Well, I mean, it's been great. You know, the thing is, I've got this band and they're really playing well. We're having fun with each other. So it seems a shame not to go out on the road. So we ended up here. We've been to Adelaide, been to Melbourne, been to Newcastle, do you believe?
Newcastle, Australia.
Now it's our second gig in Sydney. And the crowds have been fantastic, actually. Really good. So we've been having a good time.
That's incredible, because I know like the first time you went to Australia was way back in 1964. When you landed there, did you get an almost sort of, was there like an instant flashback? Was there an instant familiarity when you landed on Australian soil again? Did it feel like it felt like the first time around?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's always nice to come to Australia because when you were a kid, there were so many relatives emigrating to Australia. So you kind of knew people who went. It only cost 10 quid in those days.
You're joking.
So, no, it did. They were trying to get people to, populate Australia. Anyway, I think that was what the deal was. But so you ended up knowing quite a few people. So I like that about it. You know, there's a lot of British influences. And you know what else I like? It's tomorrow for us.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm talking to you from tomorrow.
From the future.
Yeah, it's weird, man.
But you know what? This is so beautifully timed, and I think it's so, I don't know, it seems almost fortuitous, I guess is the word, because this song that we need to talk about, because again, another sentence I never thought I'd say in 2023 is that the Beatles are back with a brand new song. You've taken a song that was started, over 3 decades ago, and it's ready to be released into the world. So we need to know the story of it. So please take us back.
Yeah, okay. Well, what it was before John died, he was working on some songs, and Yoko spoke to George Harrison and said, we've got I've got a cassette with some John songs on that he never got to finish. Would you be interested in finishing them up? So we thought about it. We thought, yeah, it'd be great, because, in a way, we'd be working with John again, which we thought we'd never be able to do. So we worked and finished 2 of the songs, but we didn't get around to finishing the third one. And the third one's called Now and Then. And that's the one we worked on it. But like I say, we never released it. So it was knocking around for a long time. And I kept saying, let's listen to it again. Wait a minute. And I kept thinking, there's something here, we should finish this. So I ended up talking to Ringo, and we asked him if he'd fancy putting the drums on again. Because the first one on because we didn't have time, it was just a machine drum. So it wasn't soulful. So he put his drums on again. And then I thought, well, I could up the bass a bit. So I put the bass on again. We already had George playing guitar and we had John on vocal. So it was kind of magical doing it. So we just gradually finished it up. And I then got in touch with Giles Martin, who's George Martin's son, who was our great Beatles producer. And together we put some strings on it. So we ended up making it into a real record. And that's what's being released next week.
This is so exciting, and there's so much more to delve into because, you know, I've been lucky enough to watch the short film that goes into the making of the record. And the one thing that I loved watching, I think, was the joy on you and Ringo's face. Like it seemed like it's been a really, dare I say, like healing experience for you to be able to revisit this song and to complete it. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, you know, that's true. Because, you know, when someone you love dies, the only way you can kind of get them back is like in dreams or something. You know, if suddenly you're dreaming about them, you feel like you're with them again. But when we were in the studio, we had John's voice in our ears. So you could imagine that he was just in the next room in a vocal booth or something, you know, and we were just working with him again. So it was joyful. It was really lovely, you know, because we hadn't experienced that for a long time, obviously. And then suddenly here we were working with old Johnny.
It really is such a beautiful way just to to celebrate your friend's legacy, you know, like just having that closeness again. It feels genuinely, just really, really special.
Yeah, it was lovely.
Now I need to talk to you about keeping secrets, because I know with the strings that you had in to work on the song, you could not tell them that it was for this. So what was the fib that you had to share?
Well, you know, we had to put out some music for the players, and but we couldn't tell them. I forget what we called it. We had some daft title. And I was just sort of saying, oh, yeah, you know, it's just something of mine I'm doing. Because obviously none of them had heard Now and Then, so they didn't know. And we didn't have John's vocal on it. So it was a good title, actually. I wish I could remember. But anyway, we just stuck this mad title on the sheet music, and they all came in. And they loved playing with it because it was a nice track to play to. So we had a lot of fun. And I thought, it's going to be great when they find out it's Now and Then. It's a new Beatles record, you know.
Surprise!
They played great. Yeah, it was a good session.
I mean, it looked it. And also we must salute Peter Jackson, because what he's been able to do with the technology to make this song is incredible. Because, you know, in music at the moment, there is a lot of discussion about AI. Some of it can be very negative, but I think this is a great example of how positive it is. And I think, you know, when it comes to technological innovation, you know, speaking of George Martin, like, and what you guys were able to create when you first started working together, this feels like something the Beatles would have been into anyway, no?
Yeah, I think you're right. You know, it's when there was something, you know, a little bit offbeat technological things. I mean, like first time we heard a tape go backwards by mistake, we went, oh, what's that, you know? And we wanted to put that on our record. I think whereas other people would just go, oh, come on, get the tape on the right way and let's get on with it. But we always grabbed little things like that. And so Peter Jackson, who, funnily enough, is going to be in the audience at our show tonight here in Sydney. Yeah, so it's brilliant. He's come over with 25 of his crew. And so they're all going to be in the audience. And we do a few things in the show that he did. We have some film when we do the song Get Back. We have some film that he's put together for our screens. So that's lovely. And then I do a bit which is very special for me, which is he's organized it so that I do a song called I've Got a Feeling, which we did in the last Beatles concert up on the roof at Apple. And he's organized it so we play live, and then John's vocal comes in at the appropriate time, and I sing with him. So it's magic. You know, I say to the audience, even though it's virtual, it's very special for me to be singing with John again, you know?
Well, I think that's the beautiful thing about how you're using this technology. It's very well intentioned. I think it's been made with a lot of love.
Yeah, you know, and I think without thinking, instead of sort of explaining it and saying there's this machine learning thing and you can do this and that, I just sort of said in some little interview somewhere, AI. So everyone jumped on it and go, oh no, they're like faking it, like these fake records. There's all sorts of things on the like on YouTube and on the internet where I'm singing songs that I've never sung before. It's an AI version of me, And I was saying to someone the other day, I was saying, well, it's not really like me, so I'm not worried. I said, but, watch out, maybe in a year's time. They said, no, 6 months. So that side of it is a little bit sort of creepy. But what we were doing was just cleaning up John's voice, just using the machinery, the technology to take away the background. So we had him, and we could put him in the mix, and we could lift his volume without bringing up all the background noise. So it was a good use of the technology.
Honestly, his vocal it's incredible. When people hear this song, they really are going to be blown away because it is crystal clear, like he's in the room. It's eerie, but so beautiful. Now, so Paul McCartney, it would be remiss of me not to mention your last appearance at Glastonbury, because it was incredible. I was exhausted by the end of it, just on your behalf. I mean, just the amount of songs, it was just bang, 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 bang. Do you have a favourite memory of that performance? Or do you remember your performances that specifically, or does it all kind of meld into one at some point?
Well, Glastonbury's special. And when you're going to be playing Glastonbury, you really want to pull it off. So we'd done, specifically for that, we'd done an American tour before it, so to get up to speed, with the band. So we thought we were rocking, we thought we were playing well. We were excited to do Glastonbury just because it's Glastonbury, And then, you get that many people singing something like Hey Jude. And, in this world today, when the news is so often bad, it's just so great to see all these humans with such a loving vibe that you get at Glastonbury. And they're all singing Hey Jude, and they're all sort of, it fills the air with love, So that's something really special for me. So I think that would be my biggest memory, really. It was great to do, and I'm glad we pulled it off,
I think you more than pulled it off. I think one of my favourite memories from it was you and Dave, I think, together was beautiful.
Yeah.
Because I think, there are so many artists who, really happily credit you with the reason why they picked up a guitar or got into making beautiful melodies or became great lyricists. And watching Dave Grohl, who was like an adult man looking at you like, like a 11-year-old boy full of wonder. It was really beautiful to witness. And, Billie Eilish, Lewis Capaldi, Frank Ocean, Arctic Monkeys, Harry Styles, Taylor Swift, like the list goes on when it comes to, people who credit you to being their inspiration. I mean, dare I say, who is your proudest protege? Who's been making you feel really proud when it comes to your influence on their work?
Like you say, it's a great thing because for a lot of people, what happened was in America, what happened was we were on the Ed Sullivan Show playing to largest audience they'd ever had, like 73 million or something. And in speaking to people like Dave and other people like that, they say, we didn't know what was coming. We just used to watch the Ed Sullivan Show. And then suddenly, these 4 crazy guys just come up there looking like weirdos, and they just play. And they could play, And I say, yeah, you didn't realize. We were like fully formed by the time we got there, because we'd played Liverpool, Hamburg, and all sorts of places over Britain and Europe. So we knew what we were doing by the time we went on there. So, but it was great. I was talking to Bruce Springsteen, who's, he's got to be one of my, legendary boys. But he says, he come down the next morning after watching it, and he brushed his hair forward, like in the Beatles style. And his dad said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Oh, don't worry, Dad. It's the thing. It's the latest, And people like David Letterman, the talk show guy, Tom Petty, all these guys had the same reaction. They all came down the next morning and their hair was suddenly brushed forward, And you say, the millions of people that you just mentioned, like Billie Eilish and Arctic Monkeys and these people, it's so great, to think. It's like us, we were listening to early rock and roll records, and it had so much influence on us, listening to Elvis or Little Richard. It just inspired us. So it's lovely to think that the next generation got inspired by the Beatles. I can't blame them, mind you.
Do you know what? Neither can I. Okay, I'm going to ask one more question before we play the song again now and then. What do you want? I tell you what, for somebody that's never listened to the Beatles before, right? What would you want somebody to take away from this song now and then?
Just first of all, just that it's an amazing technological thing, and just a loving feeling, because that's often what we were trying to do with our records. We were trying to spread love, and in this one it is very poignant because this John talking about "I miss you" and stuff like that, so I think emotion, I think that would be the key word for people to take away from it. Emotion.
That was Sir Paul McCartney in conversation with me, Clara Amfo. And if you enjoyed this podcast, there's plenty more where that came from. You can hear the biggest, most exciting artists on Radio 1 every week on the Radio 1 Interview Podcast. Subscribe now in the BBC Sounds app.